Hey everybody, Dennis back with a brand new video for you. So if you remember in the last one, we went over how to replace an existing door. Now today I'm going to show you how to install the doorknob set on that brand new door. Let's do this. Alright, so we're going to go over how to install a lock set on this door. The very first step is, this was a pre-existing door frame. I can see where the original strike plate was, so I'm going to find the center of that, which is right about here. I'm going to mark on the door where the center is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to transfer that line from where that is using our combo square. And I'm just going to draw a line over here. This can be erased before I paint. I'm going to get the side also. And you just want to make sure this matches up all the way around the door. And then we're going to hit this side also. Alright, so we have our line all the way around now. Now, depending on the back set of your assembly here, we're going to be using this Defiant Hartford Collection aged bronze finish for hall and closet. So this doesn't have the lock on it. It's basically just a doorknob. It's not a dummy doorknob. It actually does turn. But this is your latch assembly here. So when I talk about back set, I'm talking about from the back of here to the center line of this latch assembly. So this guy would go in like that. So you have two options for your back set. You have either 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. So that's going to determine where you mark and drill your hole on here. So if you look at the instructions they provide you, they actually have a template. If you want to cut that template off, you measure the thickness of your door here, right? So I believe these doors are 1 3/8. We can actually measure that right now. Just put that to the edge. These are 1 3/8 doors. So what you would do is you would just rip this off of here. I've done a few of these, so I don't really need the template anymore. But I'm going to tear this off on the table next to here. And I'll show you how you would set that up. You would just need some tape to be able to do this properly and tape this on here. But you would take the center of the door, half of 1 3/8. You would put that center line there, and you would wrap this around the door, and then wherever this circle ended up for the 2 3/8 back set, that tip of that right there is where you would mark your center of your big hole. Instead of using the template here, we're actually going to measure back 2 3/8. So I'm going to actually set my combo square. These are pretty nice because you can set it and lock it down here. So we're going to go 2 3/8. Right about there. And I'm going to intersect my two lines there. Now that is 2 3/8 back. If I hold this up to here, you're going to actually see when this is, and we'll twist it this way so you can see. There's the 2 3/8 back setting with the door latch mortised into the end of the door here. It's going to be sunk in a little bit. It's not going to be on the edge here. So with it sunk in, if you can see, I don't know if you can see through there with the angle here, but I can see that that mark is exactly centered in this hole here. So I know that's right. So what we want to do now is we want to grab a 2 1/8 hole saw. And there's a trick to doing this. You don't want to drill straight through. It's easy to come out crooked on the other side. So what we do is we start on one side. As soon as the tip of the guide bit and the hole saw goes through the other side, we actually open the door and we drill back through. So this is a 2 1/8 inch hole saw. It's actually a Milwaukee here, and if you've ever used hole saws before, you kind of just make sure this guy's backed out all the way, and you tighten it down until your pins match up. push the pins in, and then you just tighten up this backer nut here, and then everything's locked in. Chuck this in our drill. And actually, before we start drilling, I'm actually gonna mark that same 2 3/8 on the other side. Just so that when the bit comes through, we'll know that we're coming through perfectly straight. All right, so you wanna get your bit centered on your mark. And we're gonna start drilling through. And make sure you start slow. You don't want it to walk off of your mark and not be centered. So we're gonna run it in until we're getting an even cut on the door here. And you'll see what I mean here. If I pull this out, you'll see how it's actually scoring the door all the way around that circle. Now you want to make sure you hold this drill perpendicular to the door as much as possible. You don't want to drill up on an angle. You want to drill straight through. So, and you don't want to go fast. All right, so we're gonna check and see if our bit is through yet. I'm not sure that it is. Nope, not quite yet. So let's drill this a little bit more. And you don't want to press on this, you know, let the hole saw do all the work. Now we'll pull this out, we'll check it again. Okay, I do have a hole on the other side, so I'll show you that. So you'll notice that the bit did come through here, and it came through exactly where that 2 3/8 mark from the edge was. So we know we're coming through straight. And then all we do is I just put my foot behind the door to kind of brace it, and I'm just gonna follow this through. A couple seconds on there, it popped the core out. And as you can see, we have a super nice clean hole that's straight through. Came out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now is to drill out for the door latch side here. So what I'm actually gonna do to hold this is I'm gonna use that air shim that we used in the previous video to lift the door up to mark the hinges. I'm gonna stick that under the door, and I'm actually gonna inflate it a little bit, and not too much, because this thing will actually, this air shim is pretty strong. It'll lift up to 300 pounds. But anyways, that's gonna hold the door in place here, so I can have free hands. I don't have to hold the door while I'm drilling. And then we are gonna drill for our latch assembly. So this is what I was talking about for the latch assembly. So it comes with this nice faceplate here. You can actually twist this faceplate off, and you can use this insert plug instead if you don't have a wood chisel like this to be able to mortise out the relief for this faceplate. We're actually going to install it the way it is. All right, so since we're drilling a 1-inch hole here, right, this door is only 1 3/8 thick, so it's critical, the bit placement here, right? If we're off center a little bit, we run the risk of damaging either the face or the back of this door here. So it's 1 3/8, so half of 1 3/8 is 11/16. So I'm gonna set my combo square here for 11/16. We're gonna mark that, and to verify that it is halfway, we just put it on from the other direction. We're right on the line from this way too, so we know we're centered here. Typically these doors I get with the holes already drilled out for the doorknob and latch set, just because it's a couple bucks more and it saves me a ton of time. But this was a custom ordered door, and I didn't want this to come in the wrong spot, right? So we are going to drill this hole out. Again, drilling this, right? I don't want to drill up like this on an angle. I want to drill, right? I don't want to drill up like this or down or side to side because I run the risk of coming, you know, out and damaging the door. I want to make sure I'm going straight in. So we're gonna put the tip of this right on our mark. And we're gonna send this guy right in. And as you can notice here, as I'm starting this, I do have an even amount of wood on either side here. So we're just gonna drill this right in now. And we have made quite a mess here. These things are super messy if you ever use them. They do work though. All right, so now we have our hole drilled out here for the latch. And what we're gonna do now is try to fit this guy in here. And it looks like that bit that we used, which was 7/8, worked out perfectly. All right, so our next step here is to make sure this thing is straight up and down, right? And then we're gonna take our pencil and we're gonna trace the outline of this. Now it's gonna be hard to get these curved edges in here unless we use a router. We're gonna be using a wood chisel for this. That's all right. All right, so we'll pull this back out now. Now we wanna go around this with our wood chisel. We need to make this relief about that thick. It's a little less than 1/8, a little more than a 1/16. All right, so we're gonna take our wood chisel here with the flat side towards the back. I'm gonna grab a hammer here just to make this a little bit easier, but this is very close to this. If you hit too hard, you're gonna make this door spread out. These are just laminated onto this core here. And I'm not gonna hit the sides because we're so close to the sides on this door. If I do put this in there, this is gonna act just like a wedge and it's gonna try to push this, and we don't want the outside surface of this door delaminating from the core of the door here. All right, do one more test fit. We're very close. The top is pretty much good. The bottom's sticking out just a little bit. It's a little bit of a lip here. All right, and you'll notice, right, we have the rounded corners, but it's kind of hard to do that without a router. You can try a utility knife, but I find that I end up damaging the door more than I probably should. Right, shouldn't damage the door at all. Looks like we got a little bit more on the bottom side here to do. And we should be good now. All right, we're sitting flush here now, top and bottom. All right, next step is to drill the holes for these. So we're gonna grab our self-centering drill bit again. Now you wanna make sure that your latch, the angle on your latch faces the strike plate, right? Because if this was backwards like this, you go to close your door and it hits the strike plate, it's not gonna push this in. So this is very important. And we're just gonna drill these real quick. That's simple. Now they typically give you hardware kits with these lock sets or doorknob sets here, and it typically will come with 4 wood screws. Those ones that look like this, the pointed ones, and then you have 2 machine screws. These are the ones that actually hold both halves of the door knob together. So you have 2 of these for your latch assembly, and then you have 2 for your strike plate. So we're just going to screw this in. All right, so the previous strike plate was already mortised out here. We're going to see if this fits in here. If it does, kind of fits all right. It looks like we got a little piece down here on the back side we might need to chisel out. And I'll probably touch this up with some paint when I go to paint the door. So let's knock this little piece off here. So I'm just going to press in and press in and knock that little bit out right there. That was preventing this from kind of sitting flat in here. Still got a little bit more right there. Any touch-up we can do after the fact here, and let's try this with the screw holes that are already here. Looks like the previous strike plate was a lot larger than this one. We could fill this in with wood putty if we really want to get crazy about it. All right, and it's in. Those holes were a little bit crooked. Our last step now that we have the strike plate in is to mount both halves of our doorknob. So if you look at the latch assembly, there is a square actuator in there, and you have a square shaft on the knob. And then these 2 standoffs on here. All you want to do is take the 2 standoffs, put them through their corresponding holes. Just slide that in there like that. Now on the other side, you have these 2 receiver pieces right here. And if you look at the shaft from the other side, all you want to do is take your knob, you can rotate it. You want to make sure that's aligned with that shaft coming through, and then place both of these little aligner pieces on to the other side so it fits on. So once both halves are together, you'll notice if it's not aligned, right? So if I go to mount this on here like this, I won't be able to tighten my screws in there. These holes have to be lined up with those 2 pieces that came through the door there. So what I like to do is I like to stick the screws in, and I like to start them by hand, because they're typically too long in the beginning to get a screwdriver into, and I'll show you what I mean. Typically, the screwdriver won't fit in here. So what I like to do is I'll just tighten them up by hand. And you can tell if the screw actually is going in, because you'll see that the screw depth is changing. So that one's good. I'll do this side now. And you can kind of do it by feel. It may take you a couple tries, but just keep at it and you'll feel it threading in. And I'll just thread them both in just a little bit. And then now, once they're threaded in, I have a little bit less of an angle here, and the tip on the screwdriver will catch the screw and allow you to screw it in the rest of the way. And we'll just get that snug on that side. Then we'll get it snug on this side. And you don't want to crank down on these because you will make the latch assembly bind. So once both sides are kind of snugged down, you can tighten it up a little bit more. You don't want to crank on it. There's no need. It's easy enough to tighten up if the doorknob does loosen up down the line. But after you tighten it, all you want to do is just check it, make sure it doesn't bind, and then give it a shot. It latches perfectly. Pretty happy with that. You can adjust your strike plate. So if I were to close this and I had a lot of play in the door, if the door kind of bounced back and forth between the stop trim and the strike plate here, I could actually move the strike plate in to get rid of that kind of backlash. Or there's a little tab inside of the strike plate. You can stick a flathead screwdriver into the tab and kind of back it out a little bit, and that gives you a little less backlash in there. But this works perfect first time. Alright guys, if you found this video useful, smash that like button. And if you don't want to miss any of our upcoming videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Thanks for watching.